The 2019 North Korean election. We had one person running in the Democratic Front for the Reunification of the Fatherland, Kim Jong-un. So let's see if he won. So he has 100% in this province and in this one and this one. Oh, wow, look at that. I think he won in a landslide. In an election with only one person running, he got 100% of the votes. That is incredible. Still not quite as good as other elections from history, like the 1927 Liberian general election. There was only 15,000 registered voters here, yet he received over 240,000 votes. So somehow he won like over 700% of the whole population. At what time is dinner usually eaten in your country? In the British Isles and Ireland, it's somewhere between 6:30 and 7:30, which also seems to be somewhat the norm in Central Europe as well. In a lot of the Nordic lands, they're eating dinner kinda early at 4:30. That's like a late lunchtime to me. Eastern Europe really likes those later dinners, somewhere between 7 to 8, but not quite as late as Southern Europe, like in the Balkans or even Italy and Greece. 8 to 9. Now to me, that seems a little late in the day, but I guess if you stay up till like 2 a.m., it's not really a big deal. Spain, though, is the latest on the list, 9:30 to 10:30. I don't know, for some reason that just feels wrong. It's weird how everyone has their own set times. I just know you're not supposed to eat dinner and then go immediately to sleep because it just like sits there and rots. I don't know how true that is, but I know they say that's how you get like kind of chubby. I want to say this feels heavily determined by when the sun is setting, but I'm not 100% about that. How permanent daylight saving time would change sunrise and sunset times. Brighter winter evenings would come at an expense of darker mornings. So basically, some parts of Montana, North Dakota, and Michigan would not see the sun until 9:30 a.m. This would be the latest experienced, at least in the lower 48 states. But Alaska and other higher altitude areas are accustomed to having darkness in the winter. In Southern California, where I live, the sun would begin to rise around 7:30 or 8, which isn't bad. And then it increases the further up you go by 30-minute increments. So in like most of Oregon, the sun wouldn't rise until like 8:30 or 9. That would definitely feel weird waking up and the sun not being out until like 9:30. And for a lot of these states, that would be the case. For like literally the entire East Coast, the sun wouldn't come out till like 8:30 a.m. I guess this is being talked about because the Senate unanimously passed a bill that would keep daylight savings time year-round. I don't know how I feel about this. I just really despise losing that hour in spring every time. That'd be so weird to go to school and it's like 9 a.m. and it's still dark. And obviously this is going to change throughout the year as we get deeper into the months, as the seasons, fall, winter, all pass through. Yeah, that would be really scary. Oh man, it dips way into even Nebraska would experience late sunrises. The number of tanks that European countries have in service. Let's just talk about the elephant in the room here. Russia with over 12,000. Ukraine has a lot too though, but nowhere close to 12,000. Turkey has 3,000 and Greece has a lot too. Why does Greece have so many tanks? This makes me a little bit concerned about some of these countries with less than 100. I guess the Netherlands are more worried about like the sea rising than needing those tanks. Seems to be kind of a theme here. The countries that are closest to Russia tend to have more tanks. I wonder why that could be. Finland, you gotta pump those numbers up. Those are some rookie numbers. The gray countries aren't even countries with no data. No, those are countries with no tanks. Now I'm even more terrified for the Baltic states. What are you guys doing? Even neutral Switzerland has 134. Now this was made in 2022. I wonder how much this map is gonna change over the course of the next like 2 or 3 years. The northern and southern halves of the island of Manhattan are roughly equivalent in population to the states of North and South Dakota. In the north here, there's literally only a difference of about like 50 people, I think. How is that possible? And I'm sure that data is constantly changing, obviously. And South Dakota compared to southern Manhattan, there's only like 20 more people living down here. Also, do keep in mind, Manhattan is literally this small area just like that. It's actually just incredible that someone even found this information out. And I'm sure it's not perfect, but either way, this is amazing. This whole thing just almost feels like a glitch in the Matrix. What war is currently being fought near you? So depending on which part of the world you live in, you're going to have a conflict that is closer to you. So everyone in North America and Europe is obviously closest to everything that's happening in Ukraine. In almost all of Eastern Asia and Oceania, you're closest to the internal conflict in Myanmar. I just recently updated myself about that whole thing. Yeah, it's still going on. We have the Yemen crisis here in the Arabian Peninsula and for a lot of the Horn of Africa. And then this, which I am afraid I haven't even heard of yet. This says a lot about US media. Oh, it's in Ethiopia. I have heard of that. And I forgot to mention the Afghanistan conflict if you're in Central Asia. Most of India is closest to that. US population by state starting 100 years ago, but they're using percentage. So watch as California skyrockets here and all the eastern states slowly get smaller and smaller. Again, I really see this and I want to play Agario. Look how high Pennsylvania and New York were in like the early 20th century, and then it slowly dips. Look at how low New York actually is. Florida has really popped, so has Texas, obviously. It's like everyone moved out west. All of these bubbles get smaller and smaller because, again, it's out of 100%. And also, don't forget, a lot of these other states, it's easy to, wow, look how California's having to move the Nevada bubble out of the way. Hey, the Nevada bubble's not doing too bad for itself, even though it is about to get absorbed. So a lot of places are just kind of moving out west. Maybe they move to California first, and then from there they go to like Nevada, Arizona, Washington. Does Wyoming virtually not change at all? It literally sits at 0.2% the whole time. That is amazing. This was made by my friend Anders. I've actually covered a lot of his work in the past. Definitely go check him out. He has a fantastic YouTube channel that I really love to watch. Please go subscribe to him. He's doing amazing work. The price of a full tank of gasoline as a percentage of average monthly net salary. I really hope this is up to date because them prices, at least in the US, have been crazy recently. Probably not as bad as Mexico or Brazil though. 20%? Why is it so bad here? At the same time, look at Venezuela. They're doing better than a lot of the North American countries. There's only a couple places with this data in the continent of Africa, South Africa doing the best, Philippines and Pakistan with really high numbers as well. But why Albania? I just have so many questions. First of all, your commute to work has probably a big impact on it. You have to drive far away to get to your job. That's gonna suck. Russia also with 12%. This really puts things into perspective. Maybe I shouldn't complain quite as much about the gas prices right now. Beer consumption in Germany in terms of liters per person. So out of home, you can see in 2012 it was pretty high. So that's like in bars and clubs and restaurants and things like that. And obviously it dips pretty drastically around 2020. Who would have guessed? Now it was going down before that. It looks like it was starting to go down even in 2018. I'm not sure if there was like laws in place or something, but I think it really drastically went down with the lockdowns. At home actually spiked in 2020, again, probably for that same reason. But for the most part, Germans are still drinking a lot at home, which is good. They're probably trying to save money or something like that. Still, to see beer consumption decrease in this country seems odd. What's wrong with this world? Here's the best states or provinces to be born in statistically, at least according to the HDI metrics, which is the Human Development Index. So they're all good, but the dark blue are really good places to be born. You can see a lot of these places are in Germany. There's only one place, I think, in the British Isles. Is that London? Ireland actually has two. They got one up on them. Of course, you always hear good HDI stats in the Nordic countries. That's not a surprise. We have some places in the States like Minnesota or Massachusetts, and that is literally the only spot in all of the Western Hemisphere. How is Canada not on this? Australia is doing pretty well for themselves as well with 2 dark blue regions. New Zealand only has 1, and that's light blue. Those Kiwis are gonna have to step their game up. Is it bad that I've literally never been to any of these light blue or dark blue areas? It could be a problem. Arms sales between the USA and the USSR. This is obviously during the Cold War. So the Soviets were really supporting pretty much all the communist satellite states, North Korea, China, a little bit of India, a lot of Eastern Europe though. And the USA was really flowing into South Korea, Japan, Australia, a lot into Pakistan. Here's the 1960s. Now watch Vietnam. I wonder how much that is going to increase. Oh, that's awesome. You can see the South side they're supporting, and then the Soviets supporting the North. Look at how much they're going into Egypt as well in 1965. A lot into Algeria. Oh, look, Cuba. There's Cuba. So that's the only Western Hemisphere nation. Then we have the 1970s, and I don't really know what exactly is going to happen here. There's probably going to be less. Look at how much is flowing into the Vietnam. And then slowly, I think the blue USA sales are going to lower and lower. We weren't really supporting South Korea too much, whereas Russia was really supporting the North still. Not much to Australia either. What's this other country that they're flowing in? Is that Peru? Why were the Soviets supporting Peru? A lot of places around Africa as well. Needless to say, you know, Western Europe was always being sold arms by the USA. The Soviets were still trying to flow into South America, but not too much anymore. Vietnam's no longer getting anything from the USA, and now things are just going to start to trickle away by the 1990s because it's 1991, and then boom. Wow. So they were still selling stuff, even though they are now just technically Russia. They're selling a lot to, was that Hungary? Then we have like the collapse of Yugoslavia, still selling a lot to India. And then boom, it's all gonna start to trickle away. Look at some of this weird stuff. Some of it, they're selling to Mexico a little bit. Cuba has stopped. It's the 2000s. They're still selling to some African countries. They still love selling to China and Russia. You can also see the USA as well kind of stop. I guess they're not as concerned anymore. Ooh, a lot to Venezuela. Why does it feel like it's almost increasing again by 2009? Just slightly. Yeah, by the 2010s, you can really start to see it kind of come back a lot. Some to Belarus, some to Armenia. Is the whole thing just gonna get revamped here or what? It's a really beautiful way to display this data. What are some kid-friendly curse words in different European languages? This is so hilarious to me because I didn't know any of this. In Spain and France, they say Wednesday as a kid-friendly curse word. Is this like equivalent to saying barnacles in the SpongeBob universe? curse. Fire doesn't seem like a very good curse word. That actually sounds like, well, I don't know. We say that's fire in like a good way. Either that or like fire in a plane. Don't do that. Oh, I have heard a lot of Irish people say feck. That seems like a little bit too close to the actual word though, you know what I'm saying? Seems like a better idea to just pick a whole nother word, not something that's close. By the cave, they scream in Denmark, as well as chips in the Netherlands. Ah, chips. Iron nails in Sweden, and then peach in Finland. I like that, Estonia. Fat! Russia actually might have the best. I can just imagine little 5-year-olds stubbing their toe and just being like, pancake, go scratch the armpits of an earthworm. All right, Lithuania. Turkish delight in Romania. Why? Is this some sort of like thing against Turkey? Go to the sparrow and then chicken. I have actually heard of cabbage before. Why is this so amazing? In the dark gray countries, all curse words are kid-friendly. Now that's what I'm talking about. You ever play that game when you're a kid called The Floor is Lava? Well, the entire international flight community is kind of doing that in Russian airspace currently. It's literally just like raining down lava in this country. So in this turquoise color, you can see the most common routes that they usually take. And in the orange, these are the rerouted flights after March 7th. They are literally avoiding this airspace at all costs. And I'm wondering how many extra hours this is adding. Oh, we actually have the breakdown of it right here. From Beijing, China to Paris, France, it was 11 hours and 55 minutes. And this new route from there to there is adding an extra 6 hours. 18-hour flight? No thank you. One route that hasn't been affected too much is Sydney to London. It was already close to 24 hours and it's only added an extra 30 minutes. Oh, are they avoiding Ukrainian airspace as well too? The London to Tokyo route has added an extra 4 hours and 30 minutes. Seems like a very bad time to have to travel. I don't like long flights. I'd rather not. Sucks that Russia has to be the biggest country by land area on Earth. Now, of course, there are still some flights going over Russia if the country of origin didn't, I guess, sanction them or whatever. Or it might be like an airline to airline thing. I'm not sure. But you can definitely notice there's a drastic difference. There does seem to be a lot more traffic heading over Turkey and India right now. Or maybe just all parts in general. There's just so much going on down this way. Shape of the world, accurate world maps came earlier than you might think. I'm always amazed at how much maps have changed over the centuries, and they really got a lot of them down. Well, I don't know what they were doing here in 1050. I'm not sure what the hell that is. But by 1154, you can really get the gist of it. You know, they generally kind of knew what was going on. They made Italy like really thick. They knew about the Persian Gulf and the Red Sea. By 1375, like that almost looks perfect. At least the Mediterranean is down. By 1489, they were learning about Africa and slowly getting over there to India and East Asia. By 1524, they knew about the Western Hemisphere. They didn't know what was on the other side, but they kind of knew. And that's pretty early, considering like Columbus went there 1482 or whatever. Australia didn't exist though until I think 1778, probably a little bit earlier than that, but you know, they had an idea of it. And by 1832, they had finally kind of figured it out. Now the continent's interiors are a completely different story though. They might have figured out the coastlines, but still nothing what was going on up inside there. Aren't we still kind of trying to figure out what's going on up inside there?
And big thanks to my Patreon supporters.
Young Waifu,
Fat Nuts,
Gerbil Boy,
Why Am I Doing This,
Sussy Melody,
RyeThePie,
Nora the Bald Free Smiley
Philipp
Lover,
RF,
Orton 5610,
Drew's Argentinian
Alex Whitley is
Grandpa,
Mega Chad,
Alfonso M6,
aPhatNarwhal,
AryanAfterHours,
Barnsky W,
Canadian Union,
istoledrewspetdog,
Louise,
LuxembourgLover,
Majestic Unicorn,
Max Cooper,
McBlorf,
and Mimoshiki.